Cool.
Hi, I'm Corinne, and this is Free Press Fail. I'm here with John Burnett for episode 2. We are halfway to surviving longer than CNN Plus now. And the people are loving it, John. I haven't gotten any hate mail over this podcast yet. I don't know if I don't have.
So far, so good. Let's keep it going.
Yeah, it's awesome. So there's a ton of big news today, but I kind of wanted to start with this story that surprised me this morning because I feel like I follow the news a lot and I had not heard anything about this. Marjorie Taylor Green from Georgia was in court today to defend her right to run for office because she's been sued by a group of lawyers, ironically named Free Speech for People. They do not want her to be allowed to run for office because they believe she helped incite an insurrection on January 6th, and their main evidence is actually tweets. I just couldn't believe this. It's so ironic that you are, in the name of democracy, preventing someone from running for office. That is too much for me to take.
Yeah, well, we shouldn't be surprised about the hypocrisy. But one thing it does actually say and reveal that our republic works, People can have free speech in multiple ways, but yeah, it's frustrating for someone who's elected official to actually have to go to court and state why they should actually defend trying to hold their seat. It's utterly ridiculous. While I don't agree with everything that Marjorie Taylor Green tweets or says, it's each person's constitutional right, and she has a right to at least go through the process to be reelected. If I could go through a laundry list of different reasons why certain Democrats should not be on the ballot in November, right? For everything that we're going through right now, the financial squeeze, the economic squeeze, and so many other issues that are going on in our economy. But you know what? The Democrats like to play politics. This is one of the situations that will end up coming back as pie on their face.
Yeah, and I just think it shows they don't have much faith in their own candidates, because if they truly believed that she had done so wrong to her voters, then they would allow her to be primaried. They'd allow her on the ballot. They'd try to beat her in November. They clearly have already given up that fight and have decided to pursue it in court instead. And I just think that is pretty disgusting and sad of them. And all of the lawyers who founded Free Speech for People, I hope that they sue me for libel. They are all losers.
Well, they know they cannot win in her district, right? So what they'll try to do is drum up, silly tactics like this that are suited for a circus that try to make headlines, and naturally a story like this will go national, and people in other districts will use this silliness to try to paint Republicans in a bad light. And it's our job to really, flip the script, so to speak, and really say that, look, free speech is under attack. We've already known it. Now they're bringing it to the ballot box.
The media loves this story, and they're painting this as like an act of treason. Finally she's being held accountable. But meanwhile, a report came out today. They have no interest in actual suspicion of treason. Hunter Biden's laptop, Media Research Center put together a report. ABC, CBS, and NBC spent a combined 25 minutes on the entire story from October of 2020 to last week. And I guess, I don't know, they just ignored the, potential child pornography, tax fraud, international corruption, and instead led with a story on January 6th and a million stories about how, I don't know, Trump is a Nazi. They decided that was a bigger story for America.
It's terrible. The New York Post laid out all of the details, but as you mentioned, the media, completely ignored it, right? They didn't want to talk about the laptop. They were buffering the facts.
Yeah, they actually censored it. They shut down the New York Post account, which is, the New York Post has been around forever. They shut down a legendary publication, and then we had members of the intelligence community that dismissed it as propaganda. it is real, it is out there, and now it's all been confirmed, of course, way after an election. And again, there's no faith in democracy because they withheld this information because they thought it might affect the way that people vote. So they don't play fair ever, and that seems to be a consistent thing.
The media, they see that America is losing faith in Biden. They'll likely end up losing in the midterm elections, and they're very doubtful with regard to 2024. So but we do know that the media, they like to play, gender politics, and they probably analyzed the situation and said, okay, there's probably one sure path to make sure that that they actually get the next female president, and that's to move Biden out the way. So now they see Hunter Biden in his laptop as a way to possibly severely damage President Biden. But the Democrats, they are terrified at moving Biden before 2024. Why? Because even though Vice President Harris is not someone who has actually accomplished anything while in office, they don't want to run against her. Why? Because they need to coalesce the black and brown vote. So this is going to be a chess match, not just this year, but over the next 2 years. So we'll have to see how this Biden laptop actually pans out.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're starting to bring up all these stories because they are tired of Biden and they don't really care about him anymore. So they're like, this is fine to talk about. It's clearly orchestrated because months ago, it wasn't even real. And now we're getting details of how terrible it is. But you're right. They want Kamala out there, and they're shifting the narrative. We're no longer protecting Joe. Now they're protecting Kamala, who has her own issues. I think she lost another staffer this week. She's lost like 12 staffers in two years. And I think that's more than my mom has lost. So who is notoriously hard to work for. She knows. But one of her biggest faults is the border crisis, and the media has actually been surprisingly honest and I think almost brutal about how they're reporting the border crisis, because this week we hit 1 million apprehensions in the last 6 months. That is record breaking. And we broke a record last year for the amount of illegal immigrants. We broke another record for the highest amount of fentanyl in the country, like through the southern border, all under Biden's watch. But I think everyone left out that note that it's supposed to be Kamala's watch. Border was supposed to be hers.
Right. And we should never let the American people forget that. The Democrats are confused about everything, right? They're confused about the border. They're confused about inflation. They're confused about foreign policy. They're confused about their gender, right? They're confused about everything, and they don't know which side to take. So you can watch the same station, and again, I'm an advocate. I embrace diverse opinions, but it seems like I don't know, they've lost their way. There's no logic. There's no reason. You cannot rationalize with them. It's kind of sad that we're at this level in state of politics where they just can't report the truth and allow people to make up their own minds of how they view things. But one thing is clear, right? Anybody that has a pair of eyes or actually can at least hear, they can see that there's a lack of leadership from Biden and Harris. And these two individuals cannot lead going forward. Of course, we're probably stuck with Biden, even though some Democrats will try to get rid of him probably shortly after the midterm elections, but we'll probably end up stuck with them for the next 2 years. But that will actually set us up. But we can't fumble this. We got to make sure that it's not about the party, not about anything else but the American people and saving our republic. Keep every debate, every topic based upon kitchen table discussions.
I definitely agree with you. And this is ours to lose. It's unfortunate we're overcoming all of these hills, being that uh, we don't have the constant echo chamber of the media promoting these kitchen table issues and everything that's wrong. We have to be, on the fringe talking about actually what is going on. Because if you watch CNN, it's a different country they're living in. And, inflation isn't Biden's problem. Putin did that. He did that somehow last year. He started doing that, started inflating everything. So it is hard to overcome that fake news, I think. But Biden, I think this administration is fumbling it so hard. For an administration they say got, 81 million votes, the most popular president that we have ever had. And he is focusing now not on the border, not on inflation, not on jobs, the economy, but on defending the mask mandate. And I don't know how you sell that to Americans who are tired of wearing masks. And if you want to say like, oh, it's masks are for safety, that's fine. I think that's a denial of science at this point. But if you want to say it, that's fine. The majority of people are not saying that. 73% of Americans agree COVID is not an issue anymore. But what is on the top of Biden's agenda right now? DOJ going after masks.
Well, I think in part it's his plan to use it as a distraction. That's my personal view, because they see the same data points, they see the same level of frustration, right? But they have no answers. They have no answers to the rising gas prices, and you could see that they double down even on that, right? Refusing to remove regulation, right? And actually just release permits so that way we can start drilling. But it's a catch-22, right? Because we might be entering a recession at the hands of Biden and his policies. So they really don't know what to do at this point. So they use certain things as a distraction to mask their failures. No pun intended.
That's a good one. We're gonna have to clip that. That's a great one. But yeah, I think you're right. And it's unfortunate though, because people want solutions. And often I think Republicans are the party that offers solutions. Sometimes we don't present them the best way because it should be quick, it should be fast. No one wants to read the letter. They want the postcard version of how you're going to fix things. Biden somehow threw that all off the table, and he's just going straight into the distraction tactics, doesn't talk about any of the issues anymore when you can get him to talk, which is very rare compared to other presidents.
Like President Trump said, he's a Trojan horse. Biden claimed that he was a leader. He claimed that he had a plan for everything, and we can see that he's not a leader, and he never had a plan. He had someone else's agenda that he even failed at that.
Yep. And I guess we're just looking at a 2022 election where the Democrats run almost solely on January 6th and mask mandates. And I just think both of those are losing stories. Americans are over the hype of this. So it is Republicans to fumble, and hopefully we can make it across all of the obstacles we have and actually get to the people, because I think our solutions are with the people.
And there are a lot of people that are hurting. The evictions that are looming over New York City, 200,000 cases and growing. And I know there are other, cities around the country that are experiencing the same thing, as people are paying more for groceries and paying more at the pump. This is just a complete country disaster in such a short period of time. So we need new leadership. We need bold ideas, and we need someone to really move us through this turmoil and get back to good times.
Definitely, hopefully sooner rather than later. So as our typical ending, I like to end on a gaffe, but I didn't have a Biden gaffe this week. There were some, but I didn't think they were funny as this one. Earlier this week, there was a military appreciation night at Nationals Park in Washington, D.C. And apparently the U.S. Capitol Police somehow dropped the ball on coordinating with the military, evacuated the entire building due to a probable threat of an aircraft, which was an American military aircraft. And freaked everyone out on Twitter, evacuated 4,000 people, and it turns out it was the Army with dyes and parachutes landing in Nationals Park, which has been planned for over a year. And somebody just miscommunicated. Somebody forgot to check their email or something that day. And I just think that's the most DC incompetence. I don't know how much that cost. I don't know how many people were freaked out thinking that there was actually some kind of bomb threat in our capital, and it was literally nothing.
You know, while it is funny, it's really not funny, right? when the military starts breaking down, right? When the lack of coordination with law enforcement and other authorities, when that starts breaking down, it's a sad story and a sad case for America. Even exactly, even when you combine it with the recent event in terms of Putin and his cohort trying to jam certain internet waves and connections and so forth. But yet, Elon Musk's innovation, right? That good old American ingenuity saves the day, and it actually responded quicker, according to the Pentagon, than the Pentagon could have responded to it. Even though we spend billions of dollars, right? Trillions over, decades, we're still not safe, and we still don't have cutting edge defense systems.
It's big government's problem, because that is the most American thing that ever happened. An immigrant to this country created the technology that saved lives because he was able to, because he had the opportunity to. It's an amazing story, actually, of American ingenuity.
Beautiful.
But it's such an indictment of the government, because there's no obstacle to overcome. You should have taken every barrier out. They have everything at their fingertips, and they can't do anything because they are so incompetent. And it's so clear. That is a great comparison of what the private market does versus what the government does, and how it is failing us and our allies, apparently.
Exactly. So the point that you always want to end on a positive note, and this is a great point, we need to move government out of the way, right? And let free market and free enterprise not only advance consumer business, but also advance the government. So the point where we can actually move all three of those pillars forward with strength to protect our freedom and liberty.
Yeah, something that works for all of us. And you know what? I'm headed to the Nationals Park tonight to see the scene of the crime, and should be a good time.
Maybe you should parachute in.
I know. I'm a little bit worried about getting shot down, but never stopped me before, so I will try. But we'll see you again next week. I hope you subscribe for more. And thanks so much, John. I'll see you soon.